started with the creaks. Not just your usual old house settling kind of creaks. These were deliberate, rhythmic, as if someone was taking slow, careful steps just above me. I had lived in the house for a few months now. It was a steal, honestly. A gorgeous Victorian in a quiet neighborhood sold at an unbelievably low price. The real estate agent barely met my eyes when she handed me the paperwork. The neighbors didn't exactly roll out the welcome wagon either. They were polite, but distant. Almost relieved that I was moving in. The first few nights were uneventful. The house was drafty and I blamed every strange sound on the old pipes or shifting wood. But then the creaking started. Always at night, always at 3:12 a.m. At first, I assumed it was my imagination. Maybe I'd left a window open, letting in the wind. But when I checked, every window was locked. Every door was bolted shut. Yet the sound continued. Step, step, step. The slow, deliberate weight of someone walking above me. I lived alone. And the attic, where the footsteps came from, had no way up. Not anymore. The previous owner had sealed it shut. I tried to ignore it. Even convinced myself it was nothing. Until last night. Because last night, as I lay frozen in bed, staring at the ceiling, the creaking stopped. And then, in the darkness, the doorknob to my bedroom started to turn. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. The brass doorknob turned ever so slightly, a slow click click click, as if someone on the other side was testing it, unsure whether to enter. My phone was on the nightstand. My mind screamed for me to reach for it, to call the police, to do something. But my body refused to obey. I was paralyzed beneath the covers, every muscle in my body locked in place. And then, just as suddenly as it started, the knob stopped turning. Silence. I lay there for what felt like hours, my heartbeat loud in my ears. Eventually, exhaustion won. I must have drifted off, because the next thing I knew, I was waking to sunlight streaming through the curtains. I sat up, rubbing my face. Maybe I had imagined the whole thing. Maybe stress was finally getting to me. But then I saw them. Scratch marks. Long, jagged gouges in the wood of my bedroom door. I bolted out of bed, yanked the door open, and searched the house from top to bottom. Every window was still locked. Every door was secure. No sign of a break-in. But when I checked the front door, I noticed something I had missed before. The scratches weren't just on my bedroom door. They were on the inside of the front door too. As if someone or something had been trying to get out. I didn't sleep the next night. Instead, I sat in the living room clutching the heaviest flashlight I owned like a weapon, waiting for something to happen. The house, for once, was silent. No creaking, no footsteps, no scratching. It almost felt normal. Until 3:12 a.m. The air changed. It was subtle at first, like the house had suddenly exhaled. Then the temperature dropped. A deep, unnatural cold settled in my bones. My breath came out in misty puffs, curling in the dim light. And then I heard it. A soft knock knock knock. Not from the front door. Not from the bedroom door. From inside the walls. I scrambled to my feet following the sound. It came from the hallway just beyond the staircase. My skin prickled as I stepped closer. The knocks grew louder, more desperate. Then I saw it. A door. A door that had never been there before. I swore on my life it wasn't there yesterday. The hallway had always ended at a dead wall, yet now a plain wooden door stood before me. The brass handle gleamed under the dim light. My stomach turned. Something was behind it. Something that wanted out. I pressed my ear to the door, my breath shaky. Silence. Then, a whisper. Help me. The voice was small, distant. It sounded human. My hand hovered over the doorknob. Every part of my brain screamed at me to run. But my fingers closed around the cold brass handle and twisted anyway. The door swung open. And beyond it, was a staircase. A staircase leading down. I stood frozen at the threshold, staring down into the darkness. The staircase was wrong. It didn't match the house. The walls were made of rough, damp stone, unlike the Victorian woodwork in the rest of the place. The air that rose from below smelled old, earthy, decayed, like wet soil and rotting wood. A deep, humming silence filled the space beyond the door. My phone's flashlight barely cut through the blackness, revealing only the first few steps. I should have closed the door. I should have walked away. Instead, I stepped forward. The wooden floor creaked beneath me as I placed my foot on the first step. Then another. Then another. The air grew heavier the deeper I went. I kept my breathing slow, forcing myself to stay calm. But every instinct in my body screamed that I was not supposed to be here. About halfway down, my phone flickered. A brief second of darkness. Then the smell changed. That rotting scent intensified, almost choking me. A sharp, coppery tang mixed in. A scent I recognized instantly. Blood. I swallowed hard, my pulse hammering in my throat. My foot hesitated on the next step. And that's when I heard it. A shuffle below. Not the skittering of a rat. Not the rustle of a draft. Something moving. Slow. Deliberate. Then, a whisper. Not the fragile, pleading voice from before. This voice was wrong. Wet. Hungry. It came from the blackness below, curling up the staircase like smoke. Come down. I ran. I tore up the stairs, my pulse pounding in my ears. The door was still open, waiting for me at the top. But as I lunged for it, it slammed shut. The lock clicked, and from the other side of the door, something knocked. Once, twice, 3 times, then silence. I slammed my fists against the door, my breath coming in ragged gasps. Let me out. No answer. The air behind me felt wrong, like the space itself was shifting, stretching in ways it shouldn't. The darkness at the bottom of the stairs seemed closer, like it was creeping up, inching toward me. Then, a breath, right behind me. It was warm, damp, too close to the back of my neck. Every hair on my body stood on end. I turned slowly, my pulse hammering against my ribs. The phone flashlight flickered, its dim glow barely cutting through the thick blackness. My shaking hand swept the beam over the stairs below. Nothing. The space was empty, silent, but something had breathed on me. The phone flickered again, the light sputtering in and out. The battery icon showed 72%, but the damn thing was dying. Then, just as the light stabilized, I saw them, handprints, smudged, bloody streaks running up the stone walls on either side of the staircase. Some were long and thin, others smaller, childlike. They weren't there before, and worse, they were still wet. A sound rose from the bottom of the stairs, faint at first, a slow, rhythmic dragging, like something heavy being pulled across the stone floor. Then, tap, 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 a single footstep on the lower step. Then another, and another. It was coming up. I scrambled backward, my hands clawing at the locked door. My chest tightened, my vision tunneling. The air grew heavy, suffocating. I could hear it breathing now, a sick, wet rasp echoing up the staircase. My phone screen flickered one last time, and died. The world plunged into total darkness. Then, a whisper, low, amused. I see you. The doorknob twisted under my grip, and the door burst open. I fell forward into the hallway, scrambling on all fours as I slammed it shut behind me. Silence. The air was normal again. Warm. Still. My pulse pounded as I stumbled back, staring at the door. It was gone. The wall was solid. Seamless. No sign of a door, no staircase, nothing. But as I stood there, chest heaving, I noticed something else. The wooden floor was wet beneath me. I looked down. Bloody handprints, leading away from where the door had been, leading further into the house. I didn't move. I couldn't. The bloody handprints stretched down the hallway leading deeper into the house. They were fresh, glistening under the dim light. My pulse hammered in my ears. Then the silence broke. A soft drip, drip, drip. I turned my head slowly, following the sound. The bathroom. The door was slightly ajar. The light inside flickered, casting shifting shadows across the hallway floor. Drip, drip, drip. I swallowed hard. The logical part of my brain screamed at me to leave, to run. But the other part, the one trapped in this nightmare, whispered something else. You have to know. My feet moved on their own, slow, hesitant. The air inside the bathroom was thick, humid. The mirror above the sink was fogged over, streaked with moisture. The faucet was dripping steadily, red swirling down the drain. I reached out with trembling fingers and wiped the mirror with my sleeve. And then, I saw myself. But it wasn't me. The reflection blinked out of sync. Its face was pale, gaunt, lips curled in a sickening, unnatural grin. And then slowly, its head tilted to the side. Way too far. A wet pop echoed through the tiny room as its neck twisted at an impossible angle. My stomach lurched. I stumbled back, nearly slipping in the wet handprints on the floor. Then the reflection moved. Not me. Just it. It raised a single hand and pressed it against the other side of the glass. Its fingers were wrong. Too long. My breath hitched. It tapped. Once. Twice. 3 times. Then its lips moved. I couldn't hear the words, but I could feel them. They slithered into my ears, burrowing deep, writhing in the back of my skull. It was my voice, but it wasn't saying what I was thinking. It was saying something else. Then, just as suddenly as it started, the bathroom light flickered again, and the reflection was gone. The mirror was empty, but the bloody handprints on the glass remained, and from the hallway behind me, a whisper, "You let me out." I spun around so fast I nearly slipped. The hallway was empty. No figure lurking in the shadows, no movement, nothing. Just the still air of the house, thick with a silence that felt too heavy, too expectant. But I wasn't alone. I knew that now. My breath came in short gasps as I stepped backward, my shoulder hitting the bathroom door frame. My mind screamed at me to leave, run, never come back. But my body refused. Because then, the hallway light flickered, and in that brief stutter of darkness I saw something. A shape. Tall. Wrong. Standing at the far end of the hallway, motionless. The light came back on. It was gone. But the air had changed. It was closer. I felt it. A thick, suffocating presence pressing in around me. The air was ice cold, making my skin prickle, my breath turned to mist. Then, a sound. Breathing. Right? Behind. Me. I bolted. I didn't look back, I couldn't. My feet pounded against the hardwood as I tore down the hallway toward the front door. My pulse slammed in my ears. Just get out. I fumbled with the deadbolt, my fingers shaking. Turned it. Yanked the door open. And froze. The house ended at the threshold. There was nothing beyond the door. Not the street. Not my car. Just blackness. A void. A space that shouldn't exist. The realization hit me like ice water, the house wouldn't let me leave. A slow, heavy footstep sounded behind me. Then another. Getting closer. I squeezed my eyes shut, my fingers still clutching the doorknob. My breath was ragged, desperate. Then, a voice right at my ear. Low. Amused. You opened the door. You let me in. I whirled around, and saw nothing. The hallway was empty. But something was here. Something I couldn't see. And it was watching me. I didn't move. Didn't blink. Didn't breathe. The house was quiet again. But not the kind of quiet that brings peace. No, this was a waiting silence. A thick, watching silence. The void beyond the door still yawned before me, stretching into nothing. No wind. No sound. No world. I shut the door. What else could I do? It latched with a hollow click, and immediately the air in the house shifted. Like something was pleased. Like it was closer now. My hands shook as I backed away, my bare feet sticking to the floor. The bloody handprints were still there, trailing deeper into the house. I didn't want to know where they led. But then my eyes caught something new. Something I hadn't noticed before. A shape. Low. Still. Sitting in the farthest corner of the living room. At first, I thought it was just a shadow. But as I squinted, my stomach dropped. It wasn't a shadow. It was a person. No. Not a person. A figure hunched, motionless, arms wrapped around its knees. Completely featureless. No face. No mouth. No eyes. Yet I could feel it staring at me. My pulse hammered in my ears. My brain screamed at me to move, to run, but my body had turned to stone. Then, it twitched. Just a little. Just enough to let me know. It was aware of me. A slow, choking panic crept up my throat. I took a single step back, and the thing twitched again, its fingers curling, pressing into its skin as if testing itself. Then, it stood. The movement was wrong. Jolted. Like a puppet with tangled strings. And that's when I realized. It was getting taller. Stretching. Unfolding. Its limbs lengthened unnaturally, joints popping as it straightened to its full, impossible height. Its head nearly scraped the ceiling. And then, it took a step. Toward me. My breath hitched. The room suddenly felt too small. My back hit the wall as it took another jerking, unsteady step forward. It didn't have a face. But it was still looking at me. Then, it opened its mouth. A wide, gaping stretch of black nothing. And from inside a voice. My voice. Repeating something I had whispered to myself days ago, alone in my room. I don't want to be here anymore. The thing took another step. Its long, too thin arms hung stiff at its sides, twitching occasionally like it was still learning how to use them. I wanted to scream. I wanted to run. But my body refused to obey. Because I knew something now. It wasn't just watching me. It was studying me. Mimicking me. And the longer I stood there, the more it became me. It opened its mouth again, wider this time. The skin at the edges of its jaw split like old fabric, dark and wet. Then it spoke. With my voice. You don't want to be here anymore. I felt the words as much as I heard them. A deep, crawling pressure behind my ribs slithering up into my throat. Because it wasn't repeating me. It was suggesting. Urging. And God help me. For a fraction of a second I almost agreed. I clenched my teeth, forcing my body to move. My fingers fumbled blindly along the wall, searching for anything, a weapon, a door, a way out. But the moment I moved, it moved too, perfectly synchronized. As if it had been waiting for me to react. Then, it smiled. Not with its mouth. It had no lips, no teeth. But I felt it smiling. Then it whispered, "Let me in." I ran. I bolted toward the staircase, heart slamming against my ribs. I could hear it moving behind me, those awful jerking steps too fast now, like its body was still catching up with what it was trying to do. I reached the stairs, taking them two at a time, legs burning with panic. The whole house felt wrong now, shifting around me, warping in the edges of my vision. At the top of the stairs, I spun toward my bedroom, but the door was already open. And inside a mirror. Not mine. This mirror was wrong. The frame was old, warped, rotting. And the surface. It wasn't reflecting my room. It was reflecting something else. A hallway. A place I had never seen before, stretching endlessly into dark, shifting shapes. And in the center of that warped reflection, it was there. Standing. Waiting. But not here with me. No. It was inside the mirror now. I barely had time to process that before a voice slithered through the air. "You're already halfway in." And in the mirror, my reflection smiled. I didn't step forward, but my reflection did. It took one slow, deliberate step toward the glass, its bare feet making no sound. It looked exactly like me. Same face. Same clothes. Same widened, terrified eyes. But it wasn't me. Because when it smiled, I didn't. My stomach twisted. Every nerve in my body screamed at me to move, to run, to do anything but stand there like an idiot staring at something that should not exist. And then, it spoke. "You've been here before." The voice was my own, but wrong. A half second off, like an echo that shouldn't exist. I hadn't been here before. I was sure of it. But something deep in my brain twitched at the words, like a half-buried memory clawing its way to the surface. No. No, that wasn't possible. I clenched my fists, forcing myself to breathe. "You're not real," I whispered, barely recognizing my own voice. The reflection tilted its head. "Aren't I?" And then, it raised its hand. So did I. Not because I wanted to. Because I couldn't stop it. My arm moved on its own, mirroring the reflection's motion perfectly. My fingers trembled as they hovered inches from the glass, a cold sweat breaking across my skin. I wasn't doing this. Something else was. The reflection's smile widened. Its pupils dilated, swallowing up the color of its irises until only blackness remained. Then, it whispered my name. Not just my name. The name I had forgotten. The name I hadn't spoken aloud since I'd moved in. The name that suddenly felt alien in my own mind, like it belonged to someone else. I gasped, and something grabbed my wrist. Not in the reflection. Behind me. I screamed. I twisted, jerking away, my skin crawling with the sensation of unseen fingers. My shoulder slammed into the wall, my vision blurring. The room shifted. The mirror was gone. The bedroom was gone. I wasn't standing in my house anymore. I was standing in the hallway from the reflection. Long stretched. Wrong. And from the darkness ahead. Footsteps. Coming closer. And a voice, just a breath above a whisper. "Welcome back." The footsteps were slow. Measured. Something was coming. I pressed my back against the wall, my breath ragged. The air was thick here, heavy, like I had stepped into a place where the rules of the world didn't apply. The hallway stretched too far, its walls warping like an optical illusion. The floor beneath me felt soft, like the ground itself was breathing. I wasn't in my house anymore. I wasn't anywhere anymore. Then, a voice. "We've missed you." The whisper curled around me, slithering through my bones, filling my head with memories I didn't recognize. I tried to focus. To remember how I got here. The mirror. The reflection that wasn't me. The thing in the house pretending to be me. And now I was trapped on the other side. A shape emerged from the shadows. Tall. Too tall. Its limbs were wrong, elongated, twitching, like it was still figuring out how to move. But the worst part? It had my face. Not just the way the reflection had mimicked me. This thing had my actual face. My skin. My mouth. My eyes. And it was smiling. "You left the door open," it whispered. I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. It took another step, its head tilting. The way its bones moved beneath the skin was wrong, like they were shifting, rearranging themselves, making something new out of something that should never have existed. Then, it reached for me. And I ran. I bolted down the impossible hallway, my feet slamming against the floor that felt like it might give way at any second. The wall seemed to pulse, narrowing, stretching. Behind me, I could hear it following. Not running. Just walking. Like it knew I couldn't go anywhere. The hallway twisted, leading down now, spiraling in an impossible descent. My chest burned as I ran, my lungs screaming for air. Then, a door. A single, wooden door at the bottom of the stairs, its surface covered in scratches, deep, desperate gouges, as if something had tried to claw its way out. The thing was right behind me now. Its breath was warm on the back of my neck. Let me in. I grabbed the handle, and yanked the door open. Darkness swallowed me whole. I was falling. Not fast. Not like gravity had yanked me down. No, this was slow, like sinking into something thick and endless. The darkness swallowed me whole, stretching in all directions. It wasn't just black, it was empty. A hollow nothingness that I could feel pressing against my skin. I tried to scream. No sound came out. Then, I stopped falling. Not with a crash. Not with an impact. One moment I was plummeting. The next I was standing. The air shifted. The smell of old wood and damp earth filled my lungs. And when my eyes adjusted, I was back in the house. No, not the house. A version of it. The walls were warped, stretched too tall, the ceiling looming above like a cavern. The wallpaper peeled in long, curling strips, revealing something dark and pulsing underneath. The light fixtures flickered weakly, humming like dying insects. And worst of all, I wasn't alone. Figures stood in the corners. Motionless. Silent. They weren't looking at me. They didn't need to. I could feel their attention, their presence pressing against my mind like a weight. And then, one of them moved. A small, sharp motion. A twitch of the fingers. A slow tilt of the head. Then another. And another. A whisper slithered through the air. Almost ready. My stomach twisted. I knew that voice. I turned slowly. And there it was. The thing that had my face. Standing just a few feet away, smiling that wide, unnatural smile. But now it wasn't just mimicking me. Now it was becoming me. Its skin had changed, smoothing into something more human. Its eyes, my eyes, stared back at me with an expression I didn't recognize. Then it spoke. You don't need to fight anymore. And God help me. For just a second, I almost believed it. The thing that looked like me stepped forward. Slow. Deliberate. The other figures in the room remained still, lurking at the edges of my vision, their bodies wrong, their presence pressing in like unseen hands. I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. The air felt thick, like something was crawling into my head, filling the spaces between my thoughts. You've been here before. The thing's voice was soft, gentle. You've tried to leave before. I shook my head, forcing my body to step backward. My back hit the wall. No, this wasn't right. I hadn't been here before. Had I? A flicker of something old slid through my mind, a memory I didn't recognize. A door slamming shut. A voice whispering my name. The feeling of waking up in the house for the first time, but somehow already knowing what was inside it. No. The thing's expression didn't change. It just watched me. Studied me. Waited. It's easier if you let me in. Its voice was warm now, coaxing. It took another step, and as it did, I felt it inside my head. A pressure. A second set of thoughts whispering beneath my own. Urging me to let go. To stop fighting. To let it have my life. And for a moment, a single, terrifying moment, I thought about letting it. The weight of exhaustion pressed into me like lead. The fear, the confusion, the endless fight to understand what was happening. I could end it. I could give in. And then, the figures in the corners moved. They shifted closer, their shapes flickering like static, heads tilting at unnatural angles. And I realized they weren't watching me. They were watching it. Waiting. Like they had done this before. Like they had seen others give in. Like they were expecting me to fail. Something inside me snapped. No. I wasn't going to let this thing wear me like a skin. I clenched my teeth, my breath ragged. The thing reached for me. And I ran. I tore through the room, shoving past the frozen figures, my feet slamming against the warped floor. The house twisted around me, walls stretching, doorways shifting, trying to keep me inside. But I didn't stop. I couldn't. Because I finally understood. I wasn't the first person trapped here. And if I didn't get out now, I wouldn't be the last. I ran. The walls twisted, the floor tilted beneath me, but I kept going. My breath came in ragged gasps, my pulse hammering like a war drum. Behind me. It followed. Not running. Just walking. Confident. Certain. Like it knew I had nowhere to go. But it was wrong. Because now I understood. This house, this thing, was feeding off me. Warping my thoughts, slipping into my mind, making me doubt what was real. But there was still a way out. I just had to find it before it found me. The hallway stretched, warping before my eyes, doors appearing and vanishing, leading to places that shouldn't exist. But then, I saw it. The trapdoor. It was small, barely visible in the shadows of the floorboards, blending in like it was never meant to be found. But I saw it now. Because the house wanted me to go up. So that meant the real exit was down. I threw myself toward it, my fingers clawing at the edges. The wood was warm, pulsing like living flesh beneath my hands. I wrenched it open, and a smell hit me. Damp earth, cold stone, the scent of something old. A tunnel, a way out. You don't want to do that. The voice was right behind me. I turned, and there it was. Myself, standing so close now, wearing my face, my clothes, my expression twisted into something cruel and knowing. You belong here now. Its mouth split too wide, a smile stretching to its ears. I had no time to think. I jumped, falling into the dark below. I fell, down into something thick and endless. The walls around me stretched, shifting too far. Like an optical illusion I couldn't wake up from. The air vibrated against my skin, humming like a voice just beneath the world I knew. And then, I hit the ground. Not with the bone-crushing impact I expected. It was soft, cold, like earth that had never seen the sun. I groaned, rolling onto my hands and knees, sucking in breath after breath. My head spun, my fingers curled into the ground beneath me. Damp soil, a basement, not mine, not anyone's. It was too big. The ceiling wasn't there. The walls stretched into blackness, disappearing into an impossible height. Pillars of wood jutted from the floor, twisted and gnarled like tree roots. And on the walls, doors, hundreds of them, some tall and elegant, some broken and splintered, some too small for a person to fit through. Others shifted as I looked at them, twisting inward like they were being devoured by the walls themselves. And I knew they led somewhere, but I didn't know where. I forced myself to stand, every muscle screaming in protest. My breath came out in shuddering gasps. I had to move, because I wasn't alone. There were footsteps behind me, slow, measured, like someone who had all the time in the world. I turned, my body ice cold, and there, standing in the dim, shifting light, was myself, perfectly identical. Same clothes, same cuts on my arms from clawing at the walls, same wild eyes, but the smile was wrong. It stretched too far. It didn't belong on my face. You didn't really think you could leave, did you? The voice was mine, but not. It was deeper, more rooted, like something that had been speaking long before I existed. I stumbled back, heart slamming against my ribs. No, I whispered. No, I left. Did you? I stepped closer, and I saw his feet weren't touching the ground. It was hovering, just slightly, as if the world itself refused to hold its weight. You belong here now. I bolted. I ran blindly, my footsteps echoing in the vast nothingness of the basement. The doors blurred past me, some rattling violently as I passed, as if something inside knew I was there. The thing that wore my face followed. It didn't run. It didn't need to. It was already inside me. The thought slammed into my skull like a hammer. I had let it in. The moment I had hesitated. The moment I had listened to its voice, let its whispers crawl beneath my skin. It had been waiting, and now it was taking my place. I reached the largest door in the basement, a massive, black wooden thing, its surface covered in scratches. Something had been here before, and something had tried to get out. I grabbed the handle and pulled. The door swung open, and I froze, because I was looking into my own house. Everything was the same. The furniture, the dim lighting, the hallway leading to my bedroom. But it was empty. Too empty. The air felt thinner there, lighter, like it was waiting to be filled. I turned, and the thing was right behind me. I had no time to think. I jumped through the door, and the world snapped shut behind me. Silence. I was back. In my house, everything was still. My body trembled, my breath coming out in shallow gasps. I turned in frantic circles, expecting something to be wrong. But it was normal. No warping walls, no whispering voices, just my house. I let out a choked laugh, collapsing against the wall. I was out. I was home. Then, a knock from the inside of the basement door. I went still, my breath hitched. Then, "Let me out." My voice from the other side. The door shook. Something pushed against it, and my stomach sank, because I understood. I hadn't escaped. I had only switched places. The thing was here now, and I was still down there, still waiting, still knocking, still begging to be let out.